So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
I wish you would be a better Christian. I wish you would open up the Bible. I wish you would meet the Jesus that I met when I went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school. The Jesus that took care of the sick, that took care of the poor, that welcomed the immigrant, that welcomed the marginalized, that helped them. But instead, you've used Jesus as a mascot for, I don't know, your white Christian supremacy, your cruelty, your misogyny. And I'm so glad that people are finally waking up to your cruelty and to the idiocy of your star disciple, Pete Hegseth, who keeps messing up and literally does not read the Bible and quotes Pulp Fiction. Just sit with them. Maybe both of you could read the Constitution, read the Bible, and just take a break, Pastor.
My name is Jerry. I left MAGA, and I'm going to be doing another video, or I am doing another video on Doug Wilson. And pretty much by now, everybody knows about this Tim Miller, Doug Wilson, Piers Morgan, and I forget who this other guy's name is. But Tim Miller was nice enough to put together this particular edit, and we'll get to it in a moment. But first, what I want to do is I want to cover Doug Wilson's response to the Piers Morgan discussion. So let's just jump right on into this and see what he's got to say.
Now, to be fair, if name-calling were sound argumentation, they did take the trophy home. But it isn't, and they didn't. So on Monday, I was slated to appear on a panel with Piers Morgan, and, having done so, I encountered what passes for enlightened discourse these days, you know, in the twilight of our republic. Piers was the host and did an okay job trying to be the host, and I shared the panel with Tim Miller of The Bulwark and Wajahat Ali, who has a Substack newsletter, The Left Hook. When I say we shared the panel, that way of putting it is kind of misleading. The word sharing might make you think that it was a feast of reason and flow of soul, which it more or less was not. And when I say more or less, I mean less, more than more, if you know what I mean. Michael Knowles was supposed to join us, but was providentially prevented somehow. With him missing, it was 3 against 1, which I think Piers felt a little bad about. The conversation started out reasonably enough, but it wasn't too long before my fellow guests decided to descend to personalities. Here's the show if you want to verify what I say for yourself.
Yeah, if you want, we can do the whole thing. I can just, I've got this part of the conversation where it's just that part of the conversation, above and beyond what Tim Miller edited. But he seems to me like he's a little bit up in his fifis.
Segment starts around 16:15. When agreement doesn't cut it. One of the marks of someone who's being fanatically loyal to his ideological tribe is that if you are outside that tribe, he won't let you agree with him about anything. During the course of the interaction,
are we lacking a little self-awareness there, Doug? Let's listen to that again.
One of the marks of someone who's being fanatically loyal to his ideological tribe is that if you are outside that tribe, he won't let you agree with him about anything. During the course of the interaction, there were a number of things that we actually agreed on, believe it or not. The reason you might be excused for not realizing that we agreed on anything was that nobody there acted as though we agreed, except for me, of course. I was trying to be reasonable. We agreed.
Oh, of course you were trying to be reasonable. Oh, good grief. Yeah, the only reasonable one on the panel of 4.
And the blasphemous image of Trump as Jesus. We agreed that his Easter tweet was not good. We agreed that the IDF soldier who desecrated an image of Christ had done a really bad thing. We agreed that if Trump campaigned against endless war in the Middle East and wound up presiding over an endless war in the Middle East, this would be utterly inconsistent and really bad. But did this cause any of the rancorous discourse to calm back down? Not a bit of it. The more we agreed, the more agitated things got.
Yeah, no, not exactly. We'll get to that in a moment.
It was the kind of thing that would make intelligent observers go, huh. My colleagues on the panel did not say anything like, well, I'm glad to see that we agree that endless war in Iran would be terrible. It would seem that we have isolated our disagreement then. You don't believe this will be an endless war. Have I understood you correctly? No, nothing like that. And so all the puppies and kittens came out to play. So Piers Morgan has something of an audience. At the time of posting this, that particular show has 500,000 views on YouTube and lots of comments, almost 6,000. And if the comments don't reveal a great deal about our fin de siècle era, they at least reveal a great deal about the thought patterns of American basement dwellers. After having taken something of an...
Wait, what? American basement dwellers. I guess he's forgetting about the keyboard warriors on his side. Folks like Nick Fuentes working out of his mommy's basement.
Reveal a great deal about the thought patterns of American basement dwellers. After having taken something of an unscientific sampling, allow me to divide the comments into two broad categories, while recognizing that there are a few lonely voices that don't fall into these categories. The first is the kind of fan who enjoys watching professional wrestling, and the second is the kind who tries to climb into the ring himself. The first is the type who cannot distinguish a rant from an argument. The mere fact that these two gents independently launched their own respective diatribes at me, e.g., you hate everybody, a wolf in sheep's clothing, and a purveyor of hate and bigotry, is taken by these adoring fans as sufficient evidence that these belligerents cleaned my clock, stole my lunch money, and swabbed the floor with me. Now, to be fair,
yeah, no, I watched that interview. I'm pretty sure they put you squarely in your place.
if name-calling were sound argumentation, they did take the trophy home. But it isn't, and they didn't. The second category would be made up of those who simply noticed that a signal had been given such that they felt invited to turn all the way to the left, the valve of their own personal spleen vent. And it turns out that, in many cases, the tank was full. Perhaps they perceived that the name-calling on the show was inadequate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, spleen vent? That's, what is that even?
And was not achieving the full effect that they wanted. And so they surmised that the best thing to do would be to utilize the comments thread as the place to ladle more opprobrium over the top of my head. Or perhaps the word I'm looking for is calumny. Whichever it is, they ladled a bunch of it. The divine art of not giving a rip. As stewards of the grace of God, we need to be accountable.
Whoa. Hang on. This little art of not giving a rip?
Ladle a bunch of it. The divine art of not giving a rip.
Oh, the divine art of not giving a rip.
Wait. How is that divine?
I don't know. Let's check this out.
As stewards of the grace of God, we need to be accountable to God for every form that this grace might take. And if we've been reading our Bibles carefully, we should have noticed that if it is for the sake of his name, it is a grace to be disgraced and an honor to be dishonored. Quote, "Blessed are ye when men shall..."
Wait. Oh, man. Hang on. I got to back up again. Let's check that out.
Take. And if we've been reading our Bibles carefully, we should have noticed that if it is for the sake of his name, it is a grace to be disgraced and an honor to be dishonored. Quote, "Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil, for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets." Luke 6:22 and 23. I was recently reading this passage.
So that's right up there with Joel Webbin saying, you know you're doing it right when somebody calls you a Nazi. I'm just saying that the levels of delusion that come with these people, every brand has its own flavor. Oh man, this is wild.
Passage in Richmond Lattimore's translation, and really enjoyed his rendering of leap for joy, which was the Lord's instruction that we frolic. When unbelievers unload on you and throw every manner of dead cat at you, in that day we are instructed to rejoice and be exceedingly glad. You may have noticed that there was a time or two in our discussion, if you want to call it a discussion, when I laughed. Now I know that there are some fastidious Christians out there, not a few, who will pounce on my use of the word if earlier. If it is for the sake of Christ. But, they hasten to add, you're not being attacked for the sake of Christ. You're being attacked because you hate everybody. Please note that this is not a case of Christians explaining why unbelievers are attacking, but is rather a case of Christians joining in on the attack, for reasons best known to themselves. One of the...
So wait, Doug, you're telling me that you're not willing to take correction from your brother in accordance with the Bible? Okay. Now, bear in mind, this is the same guy that a couple of videos ago that I did on him. He and his boys chuckled that Donald Trump doesn't even take his spiritual advisor's advice anyway. So, but this guy is guiding Pete Hegseth. So, anyway, it's just wild. man.
The theses that my fellow panelists advanced was the idea that I should not be called a pastor. They were willing to scare quote the pastor, but would rather just dispense with the word altogether. How can I be a Christian pastor when I'm clearly not even a Christian? You know, like the Pope. And the reason I could not be a Christian is that I disagreed with their politics. My reply was that I'd been what they called a quote-unquote pastor for just shy of 50 years now. And so I asked how long would I have to continue in the work before I could be a real pastor.
Maybe if you actually did the work and acted like a Christ-like individual, you know, not be attacking immigrants and such. Oh man.
The kind they approve of. I've been preaching, counseling, marrying, burying, hospital visiting, comforting, encouraging, half a century. And yet unbelievers full of bile throw all that away because I differ with their leftist politics. And numerous Christians, not full of bile themselves, but rather full of timidity, nod at the assessment. They are not full of bile, but they sure are afraid of those who are. When we invite such Christians to come out and visit us, at our expense, they shake their heads slowly. Alas, somebody might call them a bigot. Somebody might accuse them of misogyny, but I would merely take this opportunity to remind them that not giving a rip is a fruit of the Spirit.
And not giving a rip is a fruit of the Spirit. All right, so let's get a palate cleanser and come over here and check out this Tim Miller video. It's the longer part of this, and personally, I think you need to see both sides of this coin. And if you haven't seen it yet and you don't feel like you have the whole story, please go sit through the Piers Morgan interview. It's worth it, especially that Italian dude right before this segment kicked off, who was backing the Pope, because the Catholic Church has for a really long time had set rules for being able to excuse armed conflicts. You know, even the Catholic Church is like, yes, there is a time for war. Anyway, let's go do this Tim Miller video.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Miller from The Bulwark. Earlier this week I was over on the Piers Morgan show, and you may have seen the clip going around of me talking about how I was not going to call Pastor Doug Wilson pastor, and I'm just going to call him Doug because he doesn't follow even remotely anything resembling the teachings of Jesus Christ, and he is just a right-wing hack, provocateur, and political actor. And there's space for those people in the world, but they're not pastors. And so we discussed the merits of Doug Wilson's worldview. Wajahat Ali and myself took turns taking some whacks at that. We also talked about a bunch of other stuff. And my main takeaway from this is just the case for this war in Iran is so weak that, the Piers Morgan show, which is trying to get both sides on to do a food fight, it's hard to even find people to defend the war. And to me, that was the most telling part of it. So anyway, Doug's arguments were so weak that initially I thought, why even subject you guys to this on the YouTube page? But after popular review, the people wanted it. Sometimes the people like just giving an asshole a swirly, even if it's not highbrow debate content. And so we've listened, we've learned, and so we're going to provide you some extended clips so you can see a little bit more of Doug and I. Stick around. Me on the Piers Morgan Show. Subscribe to the feed, by the way. We need to get up to 2 million. We need to get to 2 million. Let's go. Subscribe to the feed. See you later.
Okay, well, Tim Miller, you're a Catholic, I believe. Is that right?
Well, I'm a cradle Catholic. Piers, we're all on a journey together.
No, I was just curious what you feel about the row between the Pope and the President. Has what the Pope been saying crossed a line in terms of political commentary? No. Or is he just being consistent to what most popes do, which is preach about peace and not war?
Yeah, I think that the people that think that the Pope has crossed a line, have, no memory or didn't start paying attention to the news or to the Pope before Donald Trump was around. Pope Leo's comments are in line with what we've heard from popes going all the way back to Pope John Paul. And Pope John Paul II opposed both Iraq wars, did so vocally. I don't recall George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush getting into a fight with the Pope. Multiple popes have criticized Democratic leaders for their stances on abortion and other issues. I don't remember Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi telling the Pope to shut his pie hole when he weighed in on, the Catholic teaching on abortion. Donald Trump wants to make everything about himself. He wants to pick this fight because that's the only thing he knows how to do is bully people and pick fights. So it's kind of what we'd expect for Donald Trump. It's a little confusing for J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism 2 seconds ago and then decided to write a book about his conversion, to now come out and say that the Pope needs to be careful when he speaks about theology, as if J.D. Vance, who's been a Catholic for 2 minutes, knows more about Catholic doctrine and just war theory than the Pope. I think probably he would benefit from listening to the Pope. And I don't know who is really buying that from him, from the vice president. Like, why? It's not as if he comments about how Donald Trump should be careful with his language ever. J.D. Vance never criticizes Donald Trump, but now all of a sudden he simultaneously went through this conversion to MAGA-hood, where he's a Donald Trump acolyte, and he went through a conversion to Catholicism at the same time. It's very phony and it's very fake, and I don't think it's helping either of them politically.
All the contradictory statements coming out of Iran really just reveal nothing more than the fact that nobody knows who's in charge there.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Well, let me bring Tim Miller in. Tim, there's a lot of contradictory statements coming out of everywhere, and I'm all for the fog of war and dealing with the enemy in a way that they may understand. And look, nobody pretends Donald Trump is a conventional politician or president. He's always used the power of incendiary rhetoric to get what he wants, and sometimes he's been successful at doing it. So, maybe there is method to the madness. Maybe this is the language the Iranians will understand, and maybe in 6 months' time we'll look at this as a piece of strategic genius. But I've got to say right now, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling more that Donald Trump has got sucked into something. As we came on air with this show today, he's put out a direct denunciation of the increasingly popular claim that he got bullied into this, or talked into it, persuaded into it by the Israelis. He said, Israel never talked me into the war with Iran. The results of October the 7th, added to my lifelong opinion that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon, did. I watch and read the fake news, pundits and polls in disbelief. 90% of what they say are lies and made-up stories, blah, blah, blah. But, the mere fact he's felt compelled to say that, when we all read a big New York Times piece last week, which detailed in really quite extraordinary detail how Benjamin Netanyahu had sat in the Situation Room at the White House, laying out a sequence of events. If America joined this and attacked and took out the Ayatollah and the top people, then you would see the IRGC slowly lose power. You'd see the people rise up and take it over. The Strait of Hormuz would be in irrelevance and so on. Only the first bits happened. And that's the cold, hard reality. And I'm of the view that Donald Trump has got into something. He wants to get out, but he is not sure how to do that where it doesn't look like an abject failure.
The cold, hard reality is that it's been 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, and things have gotten worse in 6 weeks, Pastor.
It was actually a question for Tim. Sorry, Pastor.
Okay,
I will come back to you, Pastor.
Worse for Iran.
Look, we were told it was going to be over. We were told it was going to be over in 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's not. So, Tim.
Yeah. Look, the Trump bleat about how Israel didn't push him into this is definitely a lady doth protest too much moment. The fact that he had to say that, I just think that we can all see reality with our eyes. This is not to say that there's like some secret cabal of Jews that are like puppet mastering and manipulating Trump. It's not to say that. It's just to say that Bibi came into our Situation Room and made the case to him for this war. And then a couple of weeks later, they got into the war. Like, that's just what happened. I don't think that there's anyone out there who thinks that if Israel did not want this war, wasn't agitating for it, that Trump was going to go at it alone and do it on his own. There's just no reason to think that that would have happened. And a big part of why we shouldn't think that would happen is just listening to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's own words, where they said that they weren't going to do this up until they changed their mind. So, look, I just think that, you know, the quote unquote pastor we've got over here saying that we're only 6 weeks into this, like, he's very incoherent in his defense of this. And I think it's probably a big challenge for you, Piers, to get people onto the show to defend this war, because Trump is incoherent talking about it. Any defender of this war sounds incoherent because we haven't got anything. Like, there's been no progress made, and there was no case made for it. And if you just look at, if you go back 7 weeks and you just said to the American people, it's like, hey, here's what things are going to look like in 7 weeks from now. The Strait of Hormuz will have been closed. Energy prices are higher for everybody. Critical energy infrastructure in Arab states are taken offline. The UAE is coming to us to ask us for a loan now. Over a dozen Americans are dead. We've unknown how many Americans are wounded because they're not being honest with us. Iranian citizens have been killed, including school children that we accidentally killed. We've depleted our military materiel. So that is the state of affairs. And in exchange for that, what have we gotten? We've moved from one Khamenei to another. The IRGC is in more control, and Iran has lost some ships, and they've lost some of their missile capabilities. Like, that's it. Like, that's all we've gotten out of this. Who would make that deal? Like, if you made that pitch to people 8 weeks ago, 3% of the American public would have been for that. You know, the really strong Israel hawks maybe would have been for that, but no one else. So they can't make a pitch for this.
The interesting thing.
America is very much against this war.
Yes,
no matter what they would have said.
Exactly. America is very much against this war. And I just need to interject again. Ben Shapiro was right about one thing. Facts don't care about your feelings. Anyway, let's see how much. Yeah, we're about halfway through this. So, yeah, this is just all kinds of fun, isn't it? It's not playing out the way Doug said it did. At least I'm not seeing it. And I did watch the whole thing.
Then last thing, I've been a quote-unquote pastor for just shy of 50 years. And so I'd like to know how much longer I have to go before I become a real pastor.
Now, please note how he jumped to that first and just like skipped over everything else. But does he go back to it?
Well, you have to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, probably.
Whoops, no, he didn't.
Well, you want to be a real pastor? I mean, you can call yourself whatever the hell you want, Doug. I'm just going to call you Doug. I'm kind of tired of you being called pastor, but you know, if you just want
I think we can afford him.
Look, you're out there.
We can afford him.
You hate everybody. You attack black people, gay people, immigrants. Like, all you do is spread hate. Your book that you've got behind there is you know, talking about how much you love bad words. Look, if you want to teach like this kind of fake Christianity,
yeah, the title of the book is "There Are No Bad Words." Just saying.
That's fine. You can do that. You know, if you want. No, I've not read your book. I'm very happy to have not read your book. But if you want to do this kind of vice signaling Christianity, where we're going to do Christian
commenting on what it's about.
Well, I've seen enough of your material on social media that it doesn't really require anymore. I mean, it doesn't. It's not like there's a ton of deep thought that's going behind it that requires further study. But thanks.
What was that, baby doll?
Ouch.
I mean, like I said, facts don't care about your feelings. I should have wore that shirt today.
As the show started out, I thought we were supposed to refrain from attacking religious leaders.
Hang on. I got to back that up. Because then, I cut in too soon. Hang on a second.
We're supposed to. As the show started out, I thought we were supposed to refrain from attacking religious leaders.
I have no problem attacking the
You attacked the Pope.
But you attacked the Pope.
I have no problem. Listen, real quick, Pastor. I have no problem attacking wolves in sheep's clothing. I have no problem attacking a man who wrote that American slavery was mutually harmonious between the slave master and the slave. That's you. I have no problem attacking a man who proudly says he wants to do away with the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. I have no problem attacking a man like yourself who sits here incoherently supporting an incoherent, unwinnable, illegal war in Iran. I have no problem attacking you, a man who is the religious leader of Pete Hegseth, a man who's a cosplay crusader, who's leading some type of crusade, probably you put him on, as a Secretary of Defense, getting Americans and innocent civilians killed. I wish you would be a better Christian. I wish you would open up the Bible. I wish you would meet the Jesus that I met when I went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school. The Jesus that took care of the sick, that took care of the poor, that welcomed the immigrant, that welcomed the marginalized, that helped them. But instead, you've used Jesus as a mascot for, I don't know, your white Christian supremacy, your cruelty, your misogyny. And I'm so glad that people are finally waking up to your cruelty and to the idiocy of your star disciple, Pete Hegseth, who keeps messing up and literally does not read the Bible and quotes Pulp Fiction. Just sit with them. Maybe both of you could read the Constitution, read the Bible, and just take a break, Pastor. Just
damn. Now, I mean, the truth could be really painful sometimes. That was like a lashing of truths, cat of nine tails style, man. That was like, anyway. What's really interesting is how Doug responds to all that.
Just take a break.
Yeah.
Do less.
All right, Pastor, your response.
Just incidentally, we know that Jesus was not a socialist because he could actually feed people.
Finance the old way.
Wonderful. Great response.
That's what you got. Man, Doug.
To be fair to the pastor, the pastor would have probably got a bit of support from Michael Knowles, but unfortunately, we can't find Michael Knowles, which is why he hasn't joined us.
It's hard to find defenders of the war, Piers. It's tough for you. It's a really tough job. It's supposed to be a debate show, but the war is so stupid that literally the only person who seems to be for it is Mark Levin. And you can't have him on 3 times a week.
Both of these guys are just absolutely. I'm not sure. I think my mic might have been muted a moment ago, but it's like they're lashing him with a cat of nine tails. I mean, the truth can be painful, but anyway. You heard what he had to say about his take on this whole thing. I'd like to hear what you think in this comparison in the comments.
Life, Liberty, Levin, Micropenis Mark, but nobody else can offer a coherent case for this war. And so obviously Michael Knowles doesn't want to come on, and you have Doug over here who's already basically saying he's going to be against it if it goes on much longer. So it's challenging because the war is so stupid. That's why it's challenging.
I would say that Michael Knowles. Hang on, Pastor. Michael Knowles doesn't duck debates. I think we've had a breakdown in communication. We'll find out what happened. But it's a shame because I think he would have probably. The pastor does feel a bit on his own at the moment. So Tim Miller, yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting split that is occurring here. I'm slightly baffled by Trump's strategy of just dumping all over all these people. He did the same to Riley Gaines last week when she quite rightly said she didn't like the imagery of Jesus and so on. No Christian should like the President of the United States doing that. But he started lashing out at people who have been very supportive of him historically. What does that tell you about what is going on here? And what does it mean for, say, the midterm elections and the 2028 election?
Yeah, well, I think I can explain what's going on here pretty simply, and that is that Donald Trump has done a series of things as president that have caused backlash among his own voters, and are starting now with the Iran war to negatively impact their lives. I think folks were upset about the Epstein files cover-up, of course. That didn't really affect them personally, but they cared about that issue. And then and when he did it, that kind of started the backlash among the MAGA base. But now with this war, look, he didn't make the case for this war to anybody, including his own voters. And a lot of people went and voted for him because they were under the impression that he was going to be opposed to this, that he was the candidate that was not going to get us into dumb Middle East wars, because that's what he told them. And so you just have to put your head in, or put yourself in the mind of one of these voters who one day woke up, went to the gas station, and all of a sudden it cost $10 more to fill up their tank. And they're like, why? I can't afford this. I'm going to have to tighten my belt in other places. And like the answer that's being provided is, well, we had to do this war in Iran because we have to degrade the number of ships that they have. It's just like nobody can understand it. It is nonsensical. And so they're starting to get upset. And so, in the past, Donald Trump has been able to bully media members or members of the Republican Party who step out of line because the voters are with him. You just look at any in the past of any of the Republicans who have tried to criticize Trump, and then Trump goes back at them harder, and then they back off. Like, we've seen this a bunch. Why has that worked every time? Well, it's worked because the voters have been with Trump every time. Like, the MAGA base was with Trump in these arguments. The MAGA base isn't with him in the arguments anymore. So the bullying doesn't work, right? If this was a case where, if Trump attacked Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, their ratings went down, who knows? My guess is maybe they would modulate. Maybe they'd start talking about something else. Or if he started going after the Republicans on the Hill who criticized him, and their voters had a backlash against them, then they would back down. We've seen that a million times. That's not happening this time because people are pissed. Because the war is stupid. He didn't make a case for it, and they're being harmed.
Even they knew, even George W. Bush knew, a war in Iran would be disastrous. It would be a quagmire. We're about 8 weeks in. He cannot get out, Piers. He is stuck. But his ego makes him double down on this failed war. Everything's getting worse. His base is finally fed up.
I just like how
Pastor
you guys
Doug,
are
final
now,
word to you.
Sure. I just like how you guys are now appealing to authorities like Fuentes and Candace and Alex Jones.
Well, the war is so stupid that me and Candace finally agree on something. I mean, you're correct. She is a big liar. I don't think that the First Lady of France has a dick, but we do agree that the war is that dumb. That's we're on the same page on that one thing.
70% of Americans.
There's certainly been. There's certainly an interesting fusion of people that I would never have thought would ever agree about anything going on. Guys, thank you all very much indeed. I'm sorry that Michael didn't join us. That was, I think, some kind of communication breakdown, but we'll get him back next time. Thank you all very much.
Okay.
See you, Piers.
Thank you.
Well, that was fun. So there's both sides of that coin. I just wanted to bring that to you. This is probably going to be the only other video I'm going to get made today. But I hope that you enjoyed that. The links are in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to share this information with anybody that you think might benefit from it. If you haven't yet, a subscription would be nice. I always appreciate those, and it does great for the algorithm. So until the next video, which probably won't be till next week because I got a buddy of mine that's getting married tomorrow. Please take care of yourself so you can help take care of others. Get the rest that you need. Track those fluids. And remember, mental health matters.